You guys tired of seeing those same two meta builds that are just like, oh, this is so broken? And it's just them buffing up some dual curve swords or spears.
It looks like you're enjoying yourself. Oh,
Good, I'm sick of seeing that too. So what I have here is a fun and unique PvP build that is particularly great at dealing with gank squads in Elden Ring without boring you to death. First, I'll walk you through the equipment, the spells, and the stats that I use for the build and explain why I chose them. Then I'll include some invasion clips that showcase just how powerful this build can be. Alright, so the main weapon of choice is going to be the Gazing Finger. Chose this mainly for the unique skill that it has, but the weapon itself does hit quite hard regardless. It's very good at dealing with groups of enemies, especially ones that are going to be aggressive and trying to rush you down. And the unique skill does pair pretty nicely with this spell that I will showcase a little bit later. Our secondary weapon, the Meteoric Ore Blade, is a nice complement to the Gazing Finger. I usually use it to finish off single targets that are already at low HP, and it is a katana, so it's good at rushing people down, continuing the pressure, and the weapon skill does pair nicely with the weapon skill of the Gazing Finger that I'll showcase later as well. Our staff of choice is going to be the Staff of the Great Beyond, simply because it allows us to cast both sorceries and incantations, and it gives us the best scaling for the stats that we have. Onto the spells. First up, we have Magic Limp Blade. A solid pick all around for creating space. Makes your opponent think a little bit harder about how they're going to engage you. Glintstone Nail is a fast, hard-hitting projectile with good tracking on it. You can't go wrong there. Gravitational Missile is awesome at controlling space on the battlefield. You can also detonate it right away for instant damage and a hard knockdown. Vortex of Putrescence. Honestly, a little underrated and underused in my opinion. I never see people using this. It does pair especially well with the weapon art, Gazing Finger, and with Gravitational Missile. They both do grant a hard knockdown. 9 times out of 10, people will panic roll when they wake up, and the flames do a really good job of catching them when they do so. Mass of Putrescence. This is just a fun one, not necessary for the build at all. The flame AoE is pretty good and can be used for pre-engagement or when the enemy is far enough away from you so you don't get punished for using it. Golden Bow, of course, for the damage and defense buff. And Law of Causality. This is great if you're getting pressured too much. If you take enough hits, it will trigger an explosion and grant you some breathing room. For the armor, I'm using the full fingerprint set just because it goes with the aesthetic of the build, and the main weapon, it also does give exactly 51 poise, so that helps us not get staggered by the initial hit of most light weapon attacks. For the talismans, I'm using Graven Mass Talisman. This gives us an extra 8% damage increase on sorceries. That's all of our offensive spells. Great Jar's Arsenal. This lets us not invest too heavily into endurance and still meet our minimum requirement for medium load. Radagon Icon, of course, for the faster spellcasting time. And Blessed Blue Dew Talisman. This one is interchangeable. I like to use it because this is a FP intensive build, so it's good for longer fights, especially when you run out of cerulean flasks. Now, normally I would use Shard of Alexander because that gives us extra weapon skill damage, but it does not unfortunately affect the AoE damage on the weapon skill for the Gazing Finger. Just the initial hit with the actual physical weapon. Some solid picks alternatively would be Godfrey's Icon for extra damage on charged spells and skills, or you can use the Graven School Talisman, which I don't have. That will give you another 4% damage increase on your sorceries. Finally, for the Wondrous Physick, we're going to be using Magic Shrouding Cracked Tear to boost the magic damage on our weapons, as well as the sorceries. The Holy Shrouding Cracked Tear because the weapon art for the Gazing Finger is actually considered holy damage. This gives roughly a 20% increase to that, which you will be using quite a bit. As for the stats, they are pretty self-explanatory. 60 Vigor lets us reach that second soft cap in health. 38 Mind, we're casting sorceries and our weapon arts take up quite a bit of FP. 23 Endurance lets us reach that medium load that we need, and both of our weapons do scale with strength, so we have 52. 14 is the minimum dex requirement for both, and 48 Intelligence lets us have a little bit of extra power with our sorceries. and 34 faith only because the weapon art on the gazing finger does scale with faith because it is considered holy damage. That is all I got for the breakdown. I'm going to toss in some clips so you guys can see how this all comes together and some invasions. If you found this cool, fun, or useful, please do consider dropping a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, everybody.